answer questions from the local community. As I went on to say, I'm the first Vice President of NFA. This is going to be, we would like to have the questions come from the floor tonight on agricultural rural issues. After those questions are done, then we'll take some other questions. I know there's people here from all walks of life here. So we have some local municipal councillors here also. So at this time, I'm going to hand the mic over to the each one of the candidates here. So they'll do a brief introduction. We'll try to keep it to 2 minutes or less. Some ground rules that we're going to set down here. We're going to ask one question at a time. We want to be pretty concise and we don't want to have 2 questions at once. We can have that person that's asking the question, whether they want to have one candidate or all 4 answer it. We've got some questions from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. We've got a few questions from NFA. There's local questions here, local concerns from, if any of you people here have some local concerns. And we'll try to keep each answer to 2 minutes. I think that's probably fair, there's quite a few people here, so we would kind of like to be done by 10 o'clock. There are some refreshments at the back table there, so at any point stuff that you need to have some coffee, there's some juice there, some cups, and some donuts and vegetables. So at this time I'll call on Rob Milligan, who's the incumbent Conservative member.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a great privilege to be here this evening, and it's great to see so many people out and engaged. As mentioned, this is our 4th debate thus far during the election, the writ period, and we've had a great turnout at all of the events, so it's nice to see people are engaged. It's also nice to see that there's quite a few that aren't here. Scott Honey is planting my beans as we speak, and Dan Ferguson was going down the road with my tractor as I left, so it's going somewhere. So it's good to see that we're getting our crops in. So some of you who may not know me, I am Rob Milligan, the Progressive Conservative candidate. I grew up just south of here on County Road 29. I grew up in Wordsworth. My wife and I have 2 daughters. I taught for 13 years at the high school in Campbellford, but we do have a 185-acre farm. And before I was elected in 2011, we did raise beef cattle. We had about 50 head. But then once I was elected, the boss said we had to get rid of the cattle, so now we just cash cow because of time management reasons. So agriculture is a very strong and passionate thing for me. It's near and dear to my heart. Having grown up, as I say, here in Wordsworth, we moved down here when I was 5, and my mom and dad, we have family in the area. We bought a 10-acre little place just between Wordsworth and Northam, and we put up a post and bean farm, and we bought our own cattle because there were four of us kids, and we would buy a couple of young steers to graze and put down in the fall, and we had our own 3-teated milk cow named Brandy that we milked, and so that's where I guess I got my deep appreciation for farm life and the farm lifestyle and animals, and I think it speaks volumes to the character that we have as rural people working on the land. And we always are the ultimate optimists that things are going to get better next year, and we hope and pray for good weather. So anyways, I'll leave it with that, and we'll get down to the nitty-gritty here shortly. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and this looks like a very familiar place for the last, I guess, 3 or 4 of these that I've been here. Before as an MPP, during an MPP, and of course back now. So I'm not a farmer, but I had the pleasure of living in Northern Ontario for the last 34 years. And where I was born, I come from a rural farm background, and that's in Italy. For people who don't know me, my family owns a business in Brighton, which one of my sons I'm trying to push took over more and more and more every day. And I've become more of a gopher in that business as we go on, which is great. I was, like I said, I've been self-employed all my life, so I understand, although I'm not a farmer, but I understand being a farmer is just like having a small business, sometimes it's harder. You don't know when to start and when you finish. And the problem is I lived where my business was as well, so just like, having your house next to a barn. I guess the question probably, just to make it quickly, why am I doing this again? I lost the election in 2011, but I had the good fortune of doing some work for the government while I was gone, or I should say the party, for the last couple of years, and I stayed quite connected, and I totally enjoyed what I did in that sector. And when I had the opportunity, the Premier Wynne called me a year or so ago and said, "Lou, we need you back at Queen's Park, would you be interested?" And knowing the commitment the Premier has to this province, it didn't take me long to say yes. So I'm back in the fold, and I think this election is probably one of the more important provincial elections that I've ever seen, because there really is a distinct between all three parties, especially between the Conservative and the Liberal Party. Are you pulling the cord? Okay. I didn't see somebody with a little flag up, so I was looking for one. So I think it's really important that you're here tonight, and I appreciate you being here, because we've been some debates where there's only a handful of people, and you feel like you're preaching the verdict. So it's really good to see, and I look forward to the questions you have tonight. Thank you. There certainly will be something with time. Okay.
Thanks, Lou. Could I have the next one, next one? Good.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. And it's great to be with my pals. I mean, we are pretty much all on the same page in terms of our passion. We care about Ontario. We care about you. We just differ a little bit in how we're going to do that. So you have choices here. And the Green Party is going to give you that fourth choice. A little bit different from the PCs, a little bit different from the Liberals, and a little bit different from the NDPs. And that's basically your decision, and why this vote on June the 12th is so important. I'm just a little old girl from Toronto. Came into the beautiful Northumberland area in 2005 and absolutely fell in love with it. And of course the farmlands. So engrossing and filling your spirit every time you see it. Every time I come from Toronto after seeing my kids and my grandkids, and I come over that crest on the 401 just before you get into Port Hope, my heart just expands, because I just love it. It's so beautiful. And that's what we want to protect. We want to protect that for the future generations, for you. Make it viable for you to live here in an economical way. So I was in education for, oh my gosh, probably 45 years. And I wore all kinds of hats. They were all wonderful. All the way from kindergarten all the way up to grade 9, and being a vice principal and a writer and a consultant. So always engaged with helping people to achieve success. And that's what I'm going to hope to do with the Green Party, and obviously with your help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lou. I'll call the last candidate, Kira.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Kira, and I grew up in Hastings, born and raised. And I was saying to someone earlier, I have very fond memories of this place, because when salesman. Pretty good gig, I gotta say. And he used to deliver product here on Fridays, and some times when it was a PD day, we would get to go with him. And so when no one was here in the auditorium, my sister and I would rip around in here. And so when I pulled in today, I was thinking, and it looks so nice with the floor too. This wasn't this nice floor here. But, so anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. So I am passionate about politics, and I always have been. My dad's a conservative, and my mom's a liberal. Sorry. I remember an argument one time around election time, and my dad said she couldn't use the hammer to put up her liberal sign, and it caused a big fight. And he was joking, but kind of serious. And so politics for my family wasn't just something that we talked about around elections. It was something we talked about all the time. And it's something that I talk with my kids all the time. My kids are 13 and 10. And watch out in a few years when Sadie's up here and all candidates debate. You know, it's something that I understand the importance of, and it's why I'm so passionate about it. It's why I said yes again when they asked me if I could run. Even though I just started a brand new job 3 weeks ago, and so I'm working full-time in a new job and doing this. So, but I'm really still having a great time, because what I get to do is go out and talk to people and hear about what's really important to them. And growing up in a small town and understanding that rural lifestyle is different from what the folks in the big city have is really important. And sharing that message and hearing that at the doorsteps is really important. And so I look forward to your questions. And thanks very much for listening tonight. Thanks.
So again, just more or less to reiterate what we're here for tonight, NFA, we would like to promote agriculture in this county, so we're going to ask for agricultural-based questions, and then when we run out of those, we will take other questions from the floor. We've got some media here, taking pictures, writing notes. We have a reporter here in the front row for Ontario Farmer. We have the two people at the back there, he's taking pictures, and somebody's taking notes, and another person here also? Okay, another one, yes. So anyways, at this time, I will ask questions from the floor. We have one question that Eugene Berhani, I've more or less told him to ask first question. So, Gene, you can ask if it's either for one candidate or for all of them, and they would have like a minute or two to answer that question. So if you want, you can, anybody that has questions can come up to the microphone. If you're not good at that, stick your hand up and we'll come and do some writing for you. So at this time, Gene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question is coming from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, and they've submitted a proposal to government, and it's not moving ahead as much as we would hope it be. It's regarding to the high cost of electricity and this energy costs, and we're thinking that if the natural gas could be more available from rural Ontario, it would be a great benefit to homeowners, farmers running corn dryers, etc., etc. So this is a push that's in place with the gas companies. We're trying to make it come forward, so we're interested in all the candidates with comments on this.
Okay. I'll just pass this thing down.
Well, thank you, Gene, for the question. And of course, energy is a huge cost here in rural Ontario, and particularly on farmers who are, whether it's dairy or grain elevators or trying to dry their crops. And it's not just farmers and rural Ontario that's suffering. I mean, we've seen the electricity rate in the province of Ontario triple under the current Liberal government. And so it does make it harder for farmers to do their business and be competitive on a global stage. So absolutely. That's one of the biggest planks in our plan that we put forward as Progressive Conservatives, is if we are not only going to be competitive from a farming and agribusiness standpoint, but also a manufacturing standpoint as well, we have to get energy costs to where they're affordable once again. When it comes to natural gas, absolutely. We've made it very clear, and we are working with the various natural gas companies, Union Gas and Enbridge and so on. Ernie Hardeman, our critic, has been working very diligently with myself and other members from the PC caucus to encourage and come up with a plan so that we can work with those companies to bring natural gas to rural Ontario. When it comes to electricity specifically, Tim Hudak has given me the great honor of being a critic for interprovincial trade. And one of the key plans in order to get electricity affordable in the province of Ontario again is to scrap the Green Energy Act. And I am going to, in the process of not now, because we're in election, but working with Quebec and Manitoba, because Quebec has 3 major hydro dams that are coming online in the next 10 years. And if they can sell us, and if we can get electricity from 4 to 6 cents a kilowatt hour instead of heavily subsidizing the Green Energy Act, that's going to make it affordable for farmers who are involved.
Thanks, Rob. Luke?
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for the question, Jean. And let me say that thanks to the OLFA for pushing that. I think that government of the day has heard loud and clear. And just last week, I believe, we've part of the platform, $200 million over the next 2 years to work with gas companies to extend natural gas in rural Ontario. So we're not thinking about it. It's a done deal if we get elected on June the 12th. We understand. I think one of the things we agree amongst the 4 of us that energy costs are high. Unfortunately, I haven't heard anybody lowering electricity prices. None of the 4 of us. We're all concerned about it, but nobody has a plan. So, and the natural gas, frankly, the other piece I read from natural gas. Are you done? No. Just talking about it. Just talking about talk. But so I did some outreach in rural Ontario for the last 2 years. And that's one of the things I heard as well. So I'm glad that the part of the platform, there's a commitment already that if we're fortunate enough for government on June the 13th, that plan will start to take action. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about an article that was in the Globe and Mail. And this article talks about an analysis that was conducted by the Environmental Defense Agency by an independent energy consulting firm. And as much as renewable power is often blamed for rising electricity costs, the director, Gillian McEachran, said it really plays a fairly small role in Ontario's electricity bills. So what's costing us all this money? A lot of it is the nuclear refurbishment, paying down the debt. Has nothing to do with renewables. And also the opposition conservatives have often criticized the Liberal government's green energy policies for driving up the electricity costs. And they've pledged to kill off all the subsidies to wind and solar if they take power. That's really ill-advised. We need to be able to come to terms with the fact that we need to rely on renewables. If you look at what our energy costs are going to be in 2024, so the rise for the province, if you had a bill of $137 this year, it will be 191 in 2024. Now that's a jump of about 40%, but really the bulk of the increase comes more from inflation and not increasing rise of renewable source of power. In addition, we're also dealing with health issues, thank goodness, and kudos to the Liberals for doing this, for getting rid of the coal powered plants. Not plants, but plants. So we need to look at those costs as well, health costs. And renewables are going to be the way to go for the future. The future has to be green. Because using fossil fuels is simply going to increase our vulnerability to greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm sure everybody's heard this controversy about global warming. Are we warming? Are we not warming? Well, after that winter that we had, it's kind of like, really? That's what global warming looks like? Yes, that's what global warming, it's climate change. So we need to, the Greens take this very, very seriously. We know that renewables work. They work in Germany. They work great in Germany. Don't shake your head. So my information is that it's working really well. Part of my background in Coburg is helping to establish the Northumberland Community Power Cooperative, which has benefited from the FIT program, the Feed and Tariff program, where they've been able to put in solar panels and on industries, not just on homes. So from personal experience, I know that the renewables are making changes in the way people look at energy. And also we need to conserve. We can't be energy hogs anymore.
I'm going to, and Karen, this is a lively debate. Remember, the Liberals and Conservatives are not talking green pen, so, all right. 2 minutes.
Well, I was going to do something novel. I'm just going to ask a question. So, I will agree with Mr. Rinaldi that it's true, and it's a frightening fact that I think we're all facing, and it's not going to get any better in terms of taking into account affordability of life, making ends meet, and paying those bills. And so, yes, natural gas is something that is really important for rural Ontario, especially for farmers. And to add to that in terms of affordability, part of the NDP platform is giving the Ontario Energy Board some expanded powers to be able to protect consumers, because natural gas is going up too. And so that's something that we really need to bring in, and so that is also part of the platform.
Next question from the floor. Is anybody? Bob Cohn.
My question's for all the candidates. I specifically wonder from each candidate what your party is going to do to make agriculture east of the 400 feel like they're actually in the game, i.e. having Kemptville College shut down is we need the 2-year program. That for English speaking, east of the 400, there's nothing left. And I really think that that's a problem, but I really would like to know what each party thinks about that, because in my view, it's not just Guelph University, because if it was the Minister of Agriculture was doing their job, they would know what the biggest agriculture university in Ontario was doing. So please tell me what each of your parties want to do.
Thanks, Bob. So I'm going to go to the far end of the table and give the microphone to Kira.
an excellent question, and it's an important question, and we've, so far in the debates, we've talked a lot about people college, and it really is, it's unfortunate. I think it talks to some big picture issues around affordability of the university in general. I think it's a challenge for young people to head off to school when it used to be you could work the summer and cover your tuition costs. And that's just not feasible anymore. The way that tuition has, I think the stat I read is like 700 hours or something you need to work. So I think that's a big picture answer to start with. And I did some research on Kempville just to get my head around it, and it is it's an important program, but it looks to me the numbers for the University of Guelph weren't adding up, and so I think that speaks to the current government of the day's priorities and where the dollars have been spent. And I think that needs to change. Your pamphlet here talks about the jobs are waiting for people who come out of those programs, and so that's something that I think needs to be reassessed. And I do think it's a problem that the Premier's job is big enough, and that we really do need to have a dedicated minister for agriculture, because I don't think the attention to the issues it's not happening. It's a huge job being Minister of Agriculture. It's an equally big job being Premier, so I think that's a big change that needs to happen. I can just pass that.
Sure.
Well, I think when kids choose where they're going to go, they're thinking of their future and what kind of a livelihood they're going to be able to make. And we know that the farming community has less than 7,000 farmers in Ontario under the age of 35. So we need to really change that, because otherwise our whole infrastructure is going to crumble and we're going to be in big doo-doo. And the way that you do that is not by closing programs. It's not by, saying, well, it's a long road to hoe if you're choosing to become a farmer. Why not just make it facilitated for them and to make it economical? And one of the ways that you do that, obviously, is your overhead, your expense. And I don't know if gas is the answer. It seems that everybody is on that bandwagon, that gas is going to help defray a lot of the electricity costs. But the Greens have the idea of using water power from Quebec. And our leader, Mike Schreiner, has already been in discussion with Quebec Water Power to be able to facilitate that difficult economical piece in how to run a farm effectively. And the other point too is that there needs to be some sort of a comprehensive organization where municipalities are able to, so we need to have a council where we can have our stakeholders talking to each other, and certainly helping young farmers to learn the ropes and giving them grants in order to make a success.
Just clarification, it was about the education east of 400 for agriculture, so we'll try to keep to that question. So, Lou?
Well, thank you. Thanks for the question, Bob. You and I had some long discussions over this amongst a lot of other people in this room. So I'll get right to the point, and we're not going to replay history. That was yesterday. I think that your question was, what are we going to do to keep, a college active in Eastern Ontario to do with agriculture. So most of you already know that both the Premier and the Minister of Colleges and University are in the process of striking a committee, and I'm not sure where that is right now because of the election, along with some local leaders, to make sure that the programming that Campbell College was offering stay at Campbell College or somewhere in Eastern Ontario to indicate about. So I know that I spoke to Brent, the Minister, today. I guess about 3 or 4 weeks before the election was called, on this issue, because it was very important, because I did get a lot of phone calls and emails, which was good. I mean, I appreciate when people, communicate with me. Brad assured me that on some discussion we had so far, he was very optimistic that the programs that Campbell offered actually were looking at ways to how we can spend to make the college more feasible and more economically viable. So based on those discussions that I had and based on what's public, that there is a committee being formed to move the R6 forward to make the place affordable and sustainable, because that's the other challenge. To sustainable, that we'll have a positive solution at the end of the day. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for, this is a huge question, and, in typical fashion, the Liberals are still consulting with each other over it. What they've actually done is they've destroyed Kemptville College in its current state, and, the $2 million Band-Aid solution that they gave to Kemptville College to stay open, none of those monies were actually funneled into the agricultural courses. So what we have here is the beginnings of the generations of young farmers who are looking to get the high-skilled technical training and expertise that they're required now to run an agribusiness in the province of Ontario, and globally for that matter. We have young people who now currently cannot and will not be able to enroll in those courses at Kemptville. So this is one step that the Liberals have actually taken in eliminating Kemptville College and the expertise and research in agriculture. We hear about tuition costs and so on like that. Absolutely, but these are students when they graduate from Kemptville who are going to back and work on the family farms or in the agribusiness. As well duly noted, these are good, well-paying jobs that many of them, if they're not even working on the family farms, are going to get. I can say this, as a part-time Minister of Agriculture, and I see Tim Hudak's schedule and what he's doing on a daily basis, and so I can only begin to imagine what the Premier's job is to take on the role of agricultural minister. To me, makes no sense at all. It means it's the second largest employer in the province of Ontario, agriculture and food production. So I think it's a slap in the face to rural Ontario to do that. And let me just say, if I was the agricultural minister, Kemptville College would be staying open.
Another question from the floor? No? Would you like to come up to talk here, or are you loud? I try to get a dig in every so often. These are local there.
Thanks for that introduction. Alnwick is basically their #1 industry is agriculture. So I thought I'd put that in to justify my question. And sometimes, depending on the economy, tourism can be our #1 industry. But it depends on which meeting I'm at, which one is #1. That's how I work it. Really? Yeah. So anyway, a couple of quick points. Alnwick sent in a letter of support for Kemptville College to get them to have them stay open for at least 2 years to see if they could come up with a plan to make that work. We were asked to do that, and we did do that. It was unanimous within our council. And the second one that is a good idea that you're discussing here today is TransCanada is proposing to put a new pipeline down the pipeline corridor down along beside the 401 where they are now. And it's going to double their capacity. They have what they tell us, they have a 24 and an 18-inch line going there now, and they're going to put a 36-inch line in beside it, which will basically, so they'll double their capacity. So if there's any chance out there at all that some of the rest of the Ontarians that don't have gas could get gas, to me, that's the time to negotiate that deal and see what you can do. You know, that's always the best time to do that. I would do that if I was one of the people doing that. But anyway, my question is, as the municipality in the last term, which was just my luck because I was the mayor, the province seems to have vacated us. We've always had a partnership with the province and the taxpayers of the municipality of Alnwick Township. It was a team effort to make it work, and it's always been that way. As long as I've been in politics, which is somewhat like 25 years, the province has always stepped up for their share of the funding. And in the last 3.5 years, they have been going backwards. And what they're doing there is they're leaving our bridges and our roads and all our infrastructure in trouble. Because we cannot, in a rural municipality, take care of that situation on our own. We never could, and going forward, we never will ever be able to, unless we win the lottery or something. But what I'm saying is, and this is the question for the 4 members up here that want to take over that job, what are you going to do for rural Ontario municipalities? Are you going to continue this backlash of leaving us, or are you going to step up to the plate and help support us like we have always done in the past?
I will pass it on to Goodwin, because I'm going to mix this up here.
Well, I think, you know, the whole downloading onto municipalities and even more so onto rural municipalities was a way that the BC government was able to balance, which the term used loosely, their fiscal books in the late 90s, and basically wanting to let the provinces, you know, take over just about everything, or let the municipalities take over everything. So not having that cooperation from the province is just, it makes it impossible for you to manage, because you need it. So obviously the Greens will be there to make sure that the province steps up and helps with whatever infrastructure is needed in order to facilitate the fact that you need to be able to use your roads and use your bridges and move your goods and be able to function as a community, whether it's you know, going to do your grocery shopping or going to the farmer's market. So there is a definite awareness that that is part of the responsibility of the next provincial government.
Thank you. It's a terrific question. I'm sorry. Oh, there you are. Because it's kind of one of my complaints about how politics works nowadays, is that we think in really short sentences, or we speak in these little sound bites and short little terms of office, and mostly just spend seemingly time getting ready for the next election. But what I think is really important is to give municipalities the ability to do some long-term planning. And so they need to have a stable income that they can plan for. And that's part of the partnership that you're talking about. Because without that, I mean, you know what it's like when you're budgeting. If you don't know how much money you're going to have next week, then you just don't know what you're going to be able to do. And in a bigger picture, in a bigger way, that's how we have to treat our municipalities. They only have one source of income, and that's us, the taxpayer. And so when those dollars get shorted coming from the province, they only have one recourse, and that's user fees and higher municipal taxes. And so it just makes good sense to me that the municipal governments are the ones who are working really in the front lines with folks. And so to me, it's a really important partnership. So I think some mending needs to happen in that relationship, and it's something I would work really hard to do.
Well, thanks for the question, Dalton. I think you and I were there when, in 1995, and afterwards, a whole pile of downloading happened. I was in Pine Township, you were in your township, Alnwick Township, and we know what devastation that happened. Highway 2, Highway 28, Highway 30, Highway 45, social services. When we formed government, I'm going to be honest, I mean, you know, you have your opinion on this. When we formed government in 2003, right away we struck up an understanding with AMO that we work with municipalities, and through AMO, which is the Ontario Association of Municipalities of Ontario, we had a table that we worked out our differences, and a whole pile of uploading started to happen. And I think, you know, when we were in Trent Hills the other night, Mayor McMillan suggested we should have another relook at that. But all those commitments of the uploading took place between 2003, probably maybe 2004 and 5, but then, and moved up. Do we need to relook at that equation again? I suggested to Mayor McMillan that if I'm fortunate enough in June 12th to be successful, that's one of the things I would recommend at Queen's Park, that we need to relook the partnership. That partnership was a total agreement with municipalities, with AMO. It was, you know, there was no wavering. And a bunch of uploading. Do we need to look at it again? Maybe we do. So here's our commitment, and it's in our platform. It's just not words like a couple of my friends before me just spoke. We got $14 billion. That's what it'll be over the next 10 years, and $130 million a year for rural infrastructure. That's for 10 years. So that's in our. It was in the budget. It's in our platform to work together to bridges, roads, you name it. And it's not a one-year deal. It's something that's going to be predictable for the next 10 years. And you know, that's something that I advocated when I was a municipal politician, that we needed to have that stability. And I look forward to doing that again.
Well, thank you, Dalton, for the question. And obviously, we have to work with our municipal counterparts. You're elected duly to represent the needs of your communities, and we're elected to also work with you. So obviously this is something I strongly believe in. However, let's be frank. The province is broke. What took 23 premiers 140 plus years to amass a debt, a provincial debt of $130 billion, okay? 23 premiers, 140 years, through the Great Depression, through many recessions. It took this Liberal government 11 years to double the provincial debt. So currently, we're spending $2 million an hour just in interest payments alone. $2 million an hour just to service the interest. So what does that mean? That's $33,000 a minute. So by the time I'm done here, that's $66,000, right? So if we put it into perspective, we have to get our fiscal house in order. That's $2 million an hour that comes out of infrastructure, municipal infrastructure, that comes out of education, that comes out of healthcare. We cannot afford to go down the Liberal path that Premier Wynne, with their NDP budget, has come out with, of tax and spend. Where are we going to get the money? The NDP mentioned there's only one taxpayer, right? That's us. So either some hard and tough decisions are going to have to be made so that we can get some funding for our municipalities for infrastructure, or your taxes are going to go up under a Liberal government. Because apparently they're not going to make the tough decisions. They're going to balance the budget, even though it's going to rise by another billion next year to $13.5 billion deficit next year. Where are they going to get the cuts? Or are they going to raise taxes? So, do we need money for infrastructure? Absolutely. Where are they going to get the money?
Thanks. Okay, another question? Arlene? You mind? Arlene, 2 minutes. You know you're long-winded.
charges from impact, and in the past we pay it, we complain, but we pay it. And as farm land values have gone up significantly throughout the province of Ontario and in Northumberland too, the tax bill that farmers are getting on their property has been going up, although it creates no extra income just because the land is doubled in price in the last couple of years. So we're concerned at the current taxation system, and we understand that the services that municipalities supply, and if they don't get their money from the government, then their only recourse is to go after the taxpayers. But the farm community feels that the land that we have, that should not pay for the services that happen in town. I realize that we all work together, and in a municipality or a county, it's all the best for everyone. But we're concerned, and in order for farmers to stay competitive, we need you to look at this. So I would like all of you, and what would you recommend, or what can be done to help the farmers in this area?
Thanks, Eric. You don't give me enough answers. There's a politician, local politician right in front of you there, and he's going to Ludorf-Weaver.
Well, thank you very much, Arlene, and nobody likes paying taxes, including at least me anyway, but it's certainly an issue, you know, and it's not only with farm, but it's with industry. You know, we have a small business, and we have which we're in business in New Zealand for 3 months of the year, and we pay a commercial rate for the whole 12 months. It's a tax system. So I know that when I was at Queen's Park, for at least the second term that I was there, this issue came up a number of times with finance. And if I'm trying to recollect, there were a couple of instances where there were some studies done with the OFA. I tend to be correct a little bit. And maybe it's something that we need to look seriously at. I'm not, I don't have an answer for you today. I don't know what the right answer. Maybe we should go back the way it was prior to 1995. That you used to get a check, you used to pay your tax, and you get a check back. I'm not sure that that's the right thing. But I think it's something that we certainly need to sit down with impact and folks that do the assessment. And by the way, municipal folks sit on that board and make some of those decisions. They're a bit of an arm's length body from government, but certainly if I had the good fortunes on June 12th, it's something that not just for the farming community, but for businesses in general, that we need to look at somehow to match services with taxes, I guess, in some general way. What do you want it to know? Generally.
Well, thank you, Erwin, for the question. Obviously, taxes are a huge concern for all of us, and you're absolutely right. On the farm, our farm, we have 185 acres, and Gene, you won't like this, but I think I pay too much taxes for my farm. But like they say, we're all in this together, and as Canadians, we don't mind paying our fair share of taxes. As long as our tax dollars are going into programs and services, not wasted management like the gas plant scandals and stuff like that, right? I mean, so absolutely, what would we do? We're going to obviously have to sit down with OFA and the other rural organizations and sit down with the municipalities and have a serious and curt discussion on what we can do to make farming sustainable from a tax standpoint, but also encourage younger farmers who are trying to purchase and get into the industry, because that's a major concern I have. What can we do to ensure that property values and taxes for young people getting into the agricultural business can do so? So that's something that I would love to have a serious discussion with, and hopefully after June 12th we can have that serious
keep that in mind. The tax breaks are not to everyday folks like you and me, it's to big business. And so that is something that needs to change. And in terms of reevaluating this tax structure, obviously the key is getting the stakeholders to the table. And to echo, I don't have an answer, but the only thing we can do is really take that time to do the reviews that need to happen, because we have to protect farmland. And so if it gets to the point that you can't afford to be there and it gets sold off, it's gone. And so it's a valuable resource, and we need to, like Mr. Milligan said, we need to make it viable for young farmers, but the land needs to be there in the first place. So if it gets to the point where you can't afford to keep it, it's gone. And we're losing acres every day. So I think that's a pretty important thing to consider. And so it really is about reevaluating that relationship and how impacts the tax rate on farmland, but it needs to be done because it's a resource that we need to protect.
Wow, these are tough questions. The Green Party, because we're new and we believe in small being beautiful, we just think that having a group of people who are invested in those kinds of concerns is the starting point. So the Green Party platform is to establish an Ontario Food and Farming Policy Council, and that would coordinate the planning across the ministries, look at the whole tax structure, reward farmers for stewardship practices that provide environmental and societal benefits, so that there would be incentives, let's say, for certain kinds of farming practices that are sustainable, that have been proven to be sustainable. Organic is really one of the most predominant ways that we would like to see farming going. No use of pesticides whatsoever, or antibiotics, or hormones. And also to be able to develop what kind of infrastructure do you really need. If your farms are becoming smaller, you're working more as co-ops, you're doing farming hubs, and just changing the way that we do business. And that's going to reflect, again, differently in the way that you're taxed. So having a conversation, having a different view of how we're going to do business. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be, mega. And the regulations also should be commensurate to what size of farm you're using. So what we propose is to remove the barriers to success for family farms and local food processors. So we are going to end the one-size-fits-all regulations and implement smart regulations that recognize the differences in size of operations. So hopefully that will mitigate some of the tax burden. We'll see.
Thank you. Next question?
Thanks, Al. Okay, I'm Marion McComb, and I am a graduate of Centralia College, an agricultural college that was closed back in the 90s, and I graduated in food service management. So food is very important to me, and now having married a dairy farmer, of course and raised 2 children, it's been very important. So, my question is to all of you candidates. The OFA has firmly believes that human health and illness prevention starts with a strong food literacy component in our school curriculum and ends with a healthier population and a less taxed healthcare system. OFA wants to see food literacy programs reintroduced into our schools to teach Ontario's young adults to make better, healthier food choices. For this reason, they've strongly advocated for the Ontario government, through the Local Food Act and other appropriate instruments, to instigate a significant food literacy program through elementary and secondary school curriculum enhancements and through adult education. They have a food literacy goal. It's a 6x16 program taken from the National Food Strategy. It is a measurable goal to ensure that by the age of 16 years, each Ontario teenager can plan and prepare 6 nutritious meals. So this improved nutritional well-being depends on food literacy and on food access. It is well known that proper nutrition greatly elevates the learning capacity of children. A concerted effort to improve school-age children's nutritional intake will have a significant long-term effect on the health and well-being of all Ontarians. In addition, studies show food preparation by young adults is associated with healthier diets. So, the OFA believes that Ontario must now engage in a serious long-term effort to improve literacy and access for food across Ontario. So, my question is, what is your platform on each of these things of improving, developing and implementing curriculum enhancements to the elementary and secondary school systems to improve food literacy by a targeted and measurable amount on an annual basis?
Thanks, Marion. Kira?
That is a fabulous question. I could talk about this for hours. But I'm not going to. I'm not. Hey, I've been pretty good. I haven't had any weird on my shoulder, anyway, so what I want to start with is, so in my day-to-day work, I work at a community health center in Tweed, and part of my job is facilitating the Good Food Box. And so hopefully it's a program you're familiar with. It's available here in Northumberland. And it's about getting fresh fruit and vegetables into the hands of our citizens. And so healthy food and nutrition is something that I'm passionate about. We have a community garden where if you volunteer, you get to take produce home. It's about making life affordable, and it's about being healthy. And the work that I do at the health center is all around the social determinants of health. So it's about being engaged in community and being healthy, and it's about having people be well rather than treating people once they're sick. So absolutely, that is something that I would champion personally. The NDP in our platform has a plan around reinvesting in nutrition for young people. The number is, I looked it up while you were asking the question, $15 million per year is the number in the platform around investing in nutrition and healthy food for students, and the focus is on education about local food initiatives. So I really do think that our party is in line with this OFA initiative. And as you can tell, it would be something that I would be most excited about partnering with you on and promoting here in Northumberland-Quinte West and across the province.
Well, I mean, obviously, this is huge. Having been in education for over 40 years, having raised 3 children and instilling in them the importance of food and being able to make good decisions about food and living, knowing how to preserve, which, in many cases we've lost that skill, which my organization really wants to bring back into the community. So I'm president of an organization called Sustainable Coburg, and we really have a strong commitment to food, especially in Northumberland-Quinte West. We actually worked with Sustain Ontario to help to bring about the Local Food Act, which we're really, really proud of, and we think that that's going to go a long way to putting in place a lot of the issues that we're talking about tonight. But the Greens really think that making children aware of what it is that they're doing when they're making food choices is a linchpin to health and to success. So they're investing $200 million over 4 years for a comprehensive healthy school food program, including purchasing from local farms. And one of the things that we did in Coburg was to invite the Burnhams, which they're a farming family, I'm sure you know them, to come and talk to the kids in the elementary schools and look at, let's say, an apple and see the seed, and that from that seed grows a whole plant, and you would be shocked how many of these little munchkins just found that absolutely mind-boggling and magical, which it is, but should have been something that was very much part of their understanding of food. The Greens will also reward farmers for their stewardship practices that provide environmental and societal benefits, and also give them credit if they're donating any of their produce or whatever that they're farming to the any charitable organization, so that they would get recognition for that financially through our platform.
Just to give you a little update, my mother's out in the audience there, and she's the local council's opposition. So Dalton and James Fowle and John Rowell and Gail Lasker, they're out there, and when they see mom stand up and ask a question, they have to be accountable. They got a time limit too, so there you go.
Thanks for the warning. Mary, I was trying to make a note as you were going along, but my short end is not all that great. So my direct answer is I agree with everything you read and should. And I just want to say this. And I know it's maybe a little bit more basic than what you're describing you want to see, but we used to have home ec when we went to high school. It was there. I try not to be political, but all this stuff was all wiped out from the mid-90s on. So today, you can go to some of our high schools and you could see culinary classes, which is a start. So I think what you're trying to do, for example, I think Coburg East or West, I forget which one it is, one of them I visited. I ate some of the stuff that they cook. I believe ENSS might have, I could be wrong. So it's starting, as a government, we recognize there was a need, we started. Do we need to go a little bit more? Absolutely, but remember, it was there. It was there, it was there, and it was destroyed, along with other trades.
Well, thanks very much, Marion, for the question. And, you're absolutely right. And your organization came to my constituency office with numerous petitions, which I took to Queen's Park and presented on your behalf. And I truly believe, as a former educator and with two young daughters, who, by the way, are at the 4-H gardening club right now, learning how to grow a garden, and then later when they harvest that, they're going to learn about making preserves and stuff. So you're absolutely right, it's important. I also took those concerns, not just the petitions to Queen's Park. I sat down with Ernie Hardeman and the rest of the caucus, and we actually formulated an amendment to the Local Food Act, implementing and making requiring that food education be part of the curriculum in every grade, all the way up, which is what you were asking for. Our party was the only party that supported that. Both the Liberals and the NDP, although they can talk about, the great things about your question and food preparation and nutritional knowledge and all that, none of them did anything about it. And that's on the record. You can look at an answer on that. So thank you very much.
Rob, any questions from the floor? Sid Atkinson?
Thank you, Alan. My name is Sid Atkinson. I'm a dairy farmer with my wife Karen, my sons Mark and Dave, and I farm just east of Roseneath. I'm also on the board of directors of Dairy Farmers of Ontario, so look for a pointed dairy question. To Rob and to Lou, the dairy industry appreciates the support you've given us in your terms. the accessibility to you and your Ministers of Agriculture. Much appreciated. And quite frankly, we look forward to working with whichever candidate is successful in June. And I appreciate if each of you candidates could state your position on the dairy industry and the supply management system that we work with. And by the way, it was mentioned about 7,000 young farmers in this province. Most of them are in dairy farming. They're dairy farming because they can see a living, they can see a future, they can see their parents have made a living. They're willing to work hard, they're willing to get up at 5 in the morning, they're willing to work 365 days a year, but they want to be able to make a living. And that's the most important thing for all these farmers, whatever commodity we produce. Be able to make a living, to be able to feed our families without having to support our farm with an off-farm job. Could you speak to the dairy industry and your party's position?
Rob?
Thank you very much, Sid, for the question. And obviously, you know, milk production here in the province of Ontario is an extremely important value to agriculture and the great job that we do. Obviously, my family are dairy farmers, the Greenleys, and so I'm obviously have a vested interest in that, seeing that my family has a huge financial investment in that as well. Particularly moving forward, investing all that money in the robotic system that was just built about 5 years ago. If we're going to make those kinds of investments, particularly in dairy, to your point, we have to ensure that that the quota system maintains its status quo, if you will. You know, if we're looking forward to getting young people involved, like your sons, in the dairy industry, you're absolutely correct. We have to ensure that there's stability there, not just in dairy, but there has to be stability in the agribusiness and food production side of everything, because they're so interwoven that we have to ensure that not just the dairy side of things are productive and working and sustainable, but all across the board. I think that's the way to move forward, and that's what I'm going to stand for. I'm very passionate about that.
Well, Sid, thank you very much. And I want to thank you for the time that you helped me when I was at Queen's Park. I could see you, and I could see Dan Darling, and I see he's not here tonight, in some of those lobby days where we meet with caucus or individual members to try to tell us or make us understand. Like I said before, I'm not a farmer, but I'm a good listener. So thanks to the organizations that helped me make decisions that impacted not just dairy, but the whole agriculture. I just want to tell you that the discussion I had with you, and when I say you, and other commodities as well, is that I could tell you unequivocally that budget 2011, just prior to that year that there was an election, Minister Duncan, the Minister of Finance today, would ask us as MPPs in the Liberal side of the House, when he was formulating his budget, what our #1 priorities were. I tell you, you guys convinced me that risk management was your #1 ask. So my #1 ask when I went to Minister Duncan's office for a 3-hour meeting to talk about the next budget was risk management for farmers in this province that we have in place today. Now, frankly, the other parties voted against it. So I tell you, when I was an MPP, I was very, very fortunate to have some of you folks in my office, and we established an advisory committee that helped me deal not just with local issues here, but issues at Queen's Park. That committee now is taken over by the county, which you've got a full-time person dealing with agricultural issues. That started around my office at Queen's Park when the prices of grains and oilseed were down to nothing. You came to see me to see what we could do. And, you know, with your help, I think we moved the file forward. So your question is, will I support the dairy industry? First of all, our government has made a commitment to supply management. They went to bat against the federal government during the negotiation, and that stands. So, Mike, to answer your question, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the biggest industries we have here, and we need to look after. So, thank you for the question and your help.
Thanks. The Green Party definitely wants to remove the barriers to success for family farms and local food processors. And it's going to end the one-size-fits-all regulations for family farms and local food processors. And it's going to implement smart regulations that recognize differences in the size of operations, eliminate tax penalties, reduce zoning restrictions to facilitate local on-farm food enterprises and innovative sources of farm income, and improve income stabilization programs so they are more accessible for family farms, that they cover a wider range of products and they don't penalize farmers who experience bad years. Investments in rural infrastructure with $435 million in tax credits to support farmers and local food processors, including dairy. And we're going to push for a new revenue stream, such as renewable energy for farmers. And we believe the government should lead the way in supporting Ontario farmers with local food purchasing requirements for all government facilities. That includes cheese, milk, cream. So we realize that the number of farmers is declining. We're pleased to see that dairy is an area where there seems to be maybe not growth, but at least stability. And it is through the conversations between government and the dairy farming community that a lot of issues have been put forth and given a face. So we want that to continue, obviously, and continue that conversation, continue that dialogue, and provide as much support as humanly possible.
Thanks for the question, Sid. And it's a shame the NDP hasn't had a chance to work with the dairy farmers in a while, but it's on the platform, and I'm not sure if everyone got a chance to check out the issue sheets. It's clear that the NDP is willing to support. I always get risk management and supply management, which is exactly what Mr. Rodon is talking about, is that we need your expertise to keep it straight. So supply management in terms of managing the quotas, we want to modernize it in the sense of supporting large and small producers, so I think that's pretty important. It's going to allow you to have a smaller quota, maybe diversify the farm a little, but still know you have that. And so to answer your question, it's part of the platform, it's important, and should I be so lucky to be your NPP as of June 12th? I was going to say midnight June 12th, but we won't be so lucky probably to have the ballots counted that quickly. So let's just say June 15th. It's a relationship that I think is important, and it's in the platform, and we're ready to work with dairy farmers.
Another question from the floor? Bruce Butters?
I'm Bruce Butter, and I'm the Provincial Director for the Ontario Federation of Agriculture for Northumberland, Prince Edward, Hastings, and Manistee counties. And I'd just like to thank everybody for coming tonight too to support these and all the candidates too. I think somebody said that agriculture was the second largest employer, but it is the largest economic driver in Ontario at this point in time. 750,000 jobs are related to agriculture. There are 2 jobs waiting for every degree student enrolled in agriculture. There are 3 jobs waiting for every, I got it wrong, 3 for every degree, 2 for every diploma program student. We need a program in our primary and secondary schools to make students aware that agriculture is out there and that these jobs are there. There need to be counseling programs to make these students know right from early stages that agriculture is very important. There are all kinds of opportunities out there. And if they do that, then there will be support and there will be people there to fill those jobs. So I would like, my question is, what would you do if you're elected to make sure there would be a program for the counselors and whoever in primary and secondary schools for ag awareness?
Bruce? Lou?
Thanks, Bruce. We're going back to education. It seems to be a topic. Absolutely. I don't think we distinguish sometimes, between large urban centers when it comes to education and rural centers. And they're different. I mean, schools are different. I mean, we have a lot smaller schools in rural areas. So there is a difference. And I certainly would support that initiative. That's something that should be maybe included in the curriculum. One of the other things that I would also like to see in the curriculum, although not specifically related to agriculture, but certainly something in the curriculum to teach financial management. Kids know how to deal with money because, right now we're on the computer, right? So, so the agricultural piece, absolutely, I would support some initiative, and I would look forward to working with the OFA to bring some of the specifics to try to make that to happen. Thank you.
Well, yes, definitely. I think that in years past, many of us, when I was working for the Toronto Board, realized the importance of that great divide between urban and rural. And one of the ways to mitigate an understanding of how much one is interconnected to the other is simply to go to a farm, whether it was the apple orchard or whatever. So that there are little glimpses of how education has tried to bring into children's lives the understanding and the importance of farming. But I think we need to go a step further than that and really make it an option, like becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or a farmer. That it's something that, maybe doesn't sound as sexy as what it really is. And children need to be able to see that as a way of life. I know that when I was raising the twins, that was their dream, was to live on a farm, to be around animals. And I think a lot of my little grandchildren are exactly the same way. They intuitively know that there is that primal connection with the land, something that is so, unsophisticated and natural. And if it's there, if that spark is already there, you don't have to do too much more to nurture it. The evidence is the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you put a seed in the ground. And one of the favorite stories of my grandson is the carrot seed. Don't know if you know that book. It's a very simple little book. You just put a seed in the ground and the little boy watches the carrot grow. So those sorts of things that we're trying to embed in a culture, an idea that it's time for a change. Those small steps will create big results, and we want to be part of that and make it absolutely part of the curriculum and help students to see that as a viable option for their future life.
Thanks for the question, Bruce. I lost you. There you are. That question is really, it gets my mind racing because my previous work, I worked with high school students who had disabilities, and I helped them meet people who are already doing the jobs that they aspire to, and I would set up a meeting. So we'd go and do like a job shadow, spend the day with someone, and I know from firsthand that just that one time going and learning, and we did explore farms. I spent some time with Betty Curran at her dairy farm one time, quite an adventure. However, so I can see that program rolling out, and I think it's an important thing to think about how you could embed it in the curriculum, but it's really doable. Expanding it maybe beyond the co-op placement, or maybe even having with civics, so we're having people think about their civic engagement and how they can understand how government works, but maybe that's the place to house it. And so I think it's a great idea, and I think it would be meaningful for all ages. And in primary kids, it's probably a little more like Goodwin said, really understanding the whole notion of where food comes from, because I think that's lost for a lot of kids. But I think it's a great idea, and the fact that the number of young farmers from 91 to 11, the stat I have is that the decrease is 50%. That's a stat that we need to stop in its tracks, and I think a program like this is something that could shine a little light on the field and make it so that students see it as a viable option and see it as something to aspire to. So I think it's a great idea. It's something I would gladly support.
Karen? Rob?
Well, thank you very much, Bruce. And, you know, as a high school teacher, education is obviously paramount. And one of the things that I was extremely disappointed in, and I brought this up several times when I was in Campbellford, was the fact that when you came out of the guidance office, you know, there's posters on the walls to go into engineering, medicine, you know, all these other facets in society, but not one in a rural school in particular encourage students to go into the agricultural business or food processing or horticultural for that matter. So absolutely, one of the things I would like to see and that I'm pushing for is that we work because you know, closely with the DFO and Ontario Beef Farmers and Ontario Grains it's a high-tech business now. So we have to sit down with those organizations and see exactly the skill set requirements so that they can learn the fundamentals, whether it's electronics, welding, you know, GPS mapping and so forth and stuff like that. We need to learn that in the schools. One of the things that I'm also kind of concerned about is the co-op placement that was mentioned earlier. Students aren't allowed to go currently and work on farms because of the high risk of injury or potential for injury and so forth, and the liabilities that are surrounded like that. They have to get special permission, and the paperwork for a student to go from a co-op program onto a farm is extensive. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but there's so much red tape to make that happen, to get students engaged. So, and also I think we need to educate the guidance counselors as well, to get them promoting agriculture. You know, when we have the University of Guelph come and try and promote the courses there, Kemptville was never mentioned. It was always the University of Guelph. So I think that's an area that we have to focus on as well.
Thanks, Rob. Another question from the floor? Dalton? Sorry. Maybe he has a question here. You sorry.
Yes, my concern is food safety. We were bombarded with hormones, antibiotics, GMOs, and sprays that are designed to kill. Factory farms, which is not good for the animals or the people. And there's no way of knowing what goes into your food. It's not labeled. If you can afford organic, you're lucky. If you can't afford organic or grow your own, you're in tough luck. And I'd like to know what everybody's going to do to remedy this.
The question is food safety? Okay. First person?
Thanks, Ellen. Yes, food safety. There's an organization that is looking at that from the county level. and food security. The organization that I represent, Sustainable Coburg, was involved with that too. And a huge number of farmers are concerned about that. We are concerned about things like mad cow and swine flu and listeriosis or whatever that thing, I don't know how to pronounce. So yeah, food safety, I mean, people die. Again, no, that's not good. So how do you make that not happen ever again? We certainly want the whole scale of farming to be something that's much more manageable, where you don't have tens of thousands of critters that you know are pretty inhuman. Well, that sounds weird. On humane circumstances. The Greens are all about being sustainable. The Greens definitely are not ever going to support GMOs, and certainly want a kind of a council that can look into humane practices for how we deal with our critters, and make it so that it's not only safe but productive, economical, and that requires doing things differently than they're being done now.
Thanks for the explanation of it. It's a challenge, I think, because unfortunately it's an issue that doesn't really get a lot of time or space in these debates. I'm not sure. I think this is the first question about that. And so I think that's pretty telling, unfortunately, that it's not something that is given a lot of time or attention. In terms of the NDP platform, embedded in the agricultural platform, there is a plan to reward farmers who take on the extra burden, really, of using organic and more environmentally sustainable practices. So it's there. And one of the things you mentioned that I think is really important is just the safe processing and making sure that our food is inspected. And that's a concern that I have in terms of potential cuts, because I think that department's already been cut to the bone. And I think it's something that we need to really be careful about going down a road of less inspections, because we've heard some pretty scary reports, and I know it's always frightening to turn on the TV or to hear the radio about this product is now being recalled. And I had Costco call me at home to tell me something I bought was recalled, which is creepy and scary. Two things. So I think that's something to think about. That we really need to make sure that if we're talking about cutting services, a really important aspect of that food safety is our food inspection zone.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, you know, the quality of food is extremely important. I mean, nobody wishes that we produce food that is going to have any kind of health effect or negative impact on one's quality of life. I believe, and as a producer myself, that the quality of food that Ontario farmers produce is the best in the world. And I'll stand by that. I'll stand by the fact that we are recognized worldwide as a leader in food production and the quality of food production. You know, I know there are certain jurisdictions in the world that have some concerns, but this is market driven. So if we're looking to expand our production and exporting our goods to Asia, for instance, if they have expectations, then and our farmers want to break into that market, then that's something that they're going to have to address here by themselves. And our farmers are very well adapted to do that. And they will move with the changing times of the market. So I think that that's important. I think when it comes to and you're going to probably hear this from my Liberal counterpart, the NDP have already touched on, you know, the cuts that Tim Hudak and the Progressive Conservatives are going to do in inspections and stuff like that. Go talk to Hayden Taylor over here about inspectors and over-regulation by the government. Needless to say, inspections are extremely prudent. Over-regulation is a huge issue for farming, and particularly small abattoirs like Hayden Taylor's to do their job. So, yeah, thank you. Food quality.
It was an excellent question, and it's always, and there's not too many times that I agree with my friend to my left here, but we do agree that the fact, I think, that Ontario's got the safest food, the best quality anyone, any place in the world. I really do believe that, and I mean it with sincerity. So, would I support, a safe food product, whatever that might be? I guess as you get older, I guess sometimes you do get wiser. I mean, when our family was younger, my wife would go shopping, we would buy the apple that was red, and the cheapest apple that was red. We buy the cheapest cut of meat, and those things. That trend is totally reversed in my house right now. What can we buy from Northumberland or local, let's say Northumberland, the greater area? If we can't find anything from that area, then we look at Ontario, then we look at Canada, and we'll stretch it as far as the U.S. in certain things. But we don't go beyond the U.S. unless it's dire straits. I can tell you that right now because you hear horror stories. But what makes that Ontario food what it is because the dedication that the processors and the farmers put into it, and the quality of inspection. So I think my friends to the left anticipated my questions that we cannot afford to diminish that. And that's not what I'm hearing from my good friends from the Conservative Party. That might be not going to be the case. So we need to keep a close eye, but then we also complain that we over-regulate. So we need to find a balance. And I think right now, frankly, we have a good balance, but we need to keep on improving it. So thank you for the question. It's phenomenal. Thank you.
Another question from the floor?
I have one.
Joe Sober. Sorry, Dalton.
I think I might be able to talk loud enough that I can sing this to mine. This is I can kind of tie it into agriculture in one sense, but I'm wondering where the parties stand on apprenticeships, because that is, to me, one of the keys to jobs, and we are talking rural, and I'm just a little concerned on what I'm hearing with the party in power at this time. So I'd just like to put it out there to see what your point of view or what you are going to do in that field, because it's something that really needs to get brought up to speed.
I'd like to start, and I'm afraid I don't really have a terrific answer, actually, because I don't think that it's something that we've really addressed in the platform. I'm going through my memory banks here. So I might have to get back to you on that in terms of my memory. It's been a long day, and it's been failing me. So I just flipped through, and I definitely think I'm going to have to revisit the question. I think, sorry, I thought that was me. Yeah, and I do apologize, because it's one of those things that, again, you are a very learned crowd in terms of asking us questions that we haven't really had to face before, and I don't think I can give you a really good answer. But if you wouldn't mind talking to me after, then I would like to do that, because I'm sorry that I can't really give you a good answer.
Well, I think one of the issues is the 3-to-1 situation that is the sort of present standard now, and the Greens think that is not a sustainable way to deal with apprenticeships. Should be more of a one-to-one correspondence. And to do more of them. Let's face it, that's the sort of journeyman way of learning. When you have a mentor right there beside you, helping you along, encouraging you, that is probably the best way to learn anything, certainly in farming and in the trades. But we think that one-to-one works way better than a three-to-one. That would be our position.
Well, thank you. It's a good question. That question's been asked before, so I'm going to help my friend from the NDP. And she does support the College of Trades. You said that in another debate, so if that would help you out. But, so we do have a College of Trades that, and that college is made up of tradespeople from all the trades. And they determine their fate as far as the length of apprenticeships, the number of apprenticeships. It's new, but it's the College of Trades. It's really tailored the same as other professions, whether it's doctors, lawyers, that they're self-regulating, or accountants, they're self-regulating. So that's the intent of the College of Trades. It is new. Does it need to be tweaked maybe somewhere down the road? I think it should be. Like every other program, there's a time period where we have to review, but it is fairly new, and it's really structured the same way as other trades are, professional trades, because I think whatever trade you're in, it's a profession. I'm a tradesperson myself, and I did have a license. I let it expire. But having said that, I think to let the trades regulate themselves, I think that's the best solution, not being regulated but the whim of the government of the day. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joan, and I appreciate the question. And this is a very important part of our Million Jobs plan as well. And you know, the apprenticeship ratio as it stands right now is on average 3-to-1. It varies from trade to trade. But if we're going to get young people, and it doesn't have to actually be a young person, working again here, specifically in the trades, we need to lower the apprenticeship ratio to a 1-to-1 ratio. That will generate approximately 200,000 well-paid jobs here in the province of Ontario. You're going to hear some rhetoric from the NDP and the Liberals who kowtow to union leaders like Pat Dillon, who actually sits on the College of Trades board. If you look at the board, it's not run by actual tradespeople. They have a small body of individuals who sit on that board. So overwhelmingly, it's a bureaucracy that has been made up by unions. And you'll hear from the College of Trades as well that it's unsafe. If we go to a 1-to-1 ratio, it's unsafe. Well, let me just say that the province of Saskatchewan actually has a reverse. One expert or journey person in the field to 2 apprentices, and they actually have the lowest on-job site injury or death record in all of Canada. So the argument that the College of Trades is actually going to save lives and protect individuals from being harmed on the job site is a fallacy. And what I'm hearing from tradespeople as well is that they're opposed to the College of Trades. So we're going to get rid of the College of Trades, which is just another layer of bureaucracy, sort of like the LINs or the Ontario Power Authority, and we're going to allow the trades to run in the way they have. This is just a tax grab, and if you talk to anybody who's in the trades, they have to pay $120 a year to certify for the College of Trades, and what do they get? Nothing.
Any questions?
I'll just try it from back here. 2 things brought up. One, liability is a big issue. You couldn't even go on a farm because of the liability issues. Well, the province themselves are self-insured. They don't pay for insurance companies and they don't make a premium, but farmers make premiums, municipalities make premiums, and liability is the biggest part of our premium today. When I got on council back a couple weeks ago, our insurance premium was $18,000. Last year was $256,000. So that's where we're going in that direction. So we're wasting a whole lot of money in that regard. That we
Clarify that, Dalton, you said 18,000?
$18,000. We were was Haldeman Township at that time. We had the mill. It was $18,000. That was our first insurance bill. Yeah. And this past year it was $256,000. It's a big difference. And that money is, we just write the check and it's gone. And that's an issue for farmers as well. I mean, farm operations are covering millions of dollars, and liability is the big thing there too, when you're driving down the road and stuff. And, you know, it's costing a lot of money, and there could be something there that could shave that down and help everybody. So that's my first point. And my second question I have is I'd like to know what this group thinks about the horse racing industry. Where do you feel that's going? I'm not totally up to par on how it is going. I know it was devastated in the beginning, and then there was negotiations to help get them back on track. But I don't know where they are, and I don't know the policies of before people on doing that. But they are part of our municipality, and it's very disconcerting to me to see that whole industry just wiped out because it's not all about dollars all the time.
Okay, so the first question is going to be on liabilities and what the government's going to do, their party's going to do about liabilities.
Yeah.
And when we're done with that, the second question will be on the horse industry. Okay, thank you. Lou Renell. First question.